holidays, everybody, and welcome to Thaddaus Dawson Speaks, Liberation through Valuation, where soul meets soil. Today, we have our episode from when we were in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, with Pastor Nehemiah Smith at Mount Zion First Baptist Church in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Reverend Smith is a Morehouse graduate, and this was a really interesting time. It just so happens that the president is in Rocky Mount this week, so I've been trying to get in touch with Pastor Smith and see how it went with him and the president in Rocky Mount this week, just checking his pulse. Also, last week we did Heirs property training and reconsideration of value at Pinnacle Financial Partners at the Pierce Center in Atlanta, next to the Gathering Spot, and it was a really good turnout, good education. We had some folks there representing NeighborWorks that I met when we did the keynote speech in New Orleans earlier this year. Also, South State Bank was there, and they were well represented, as well as some other appraisers and people from the community. So really excited about Heirs property training that we will be doing this upcoming year across the country. We wrote the land valuation, or I wrote the land valuation course for Heirs property training for Mississippi State that will be being taught in the advanced trainer series this year. We've taught it so far in North Carolina, and we taught it in Oklahoma. We will be teaching it in New Mexico. And so that's with Mississippi State Southern Rural Development Center. It's really been an exciting year. We've done quite a bit, and Rick, the baby, is 2.5 years old. So thank you, and enjoy this episode. Please like, share, subscribe, and donate. I mean, we need your support. If not, I mean, we just we'll accept your prayers and well wishes as well. So again, thank you, and we look forward to a prosperous 2026, and you all be safe and happy and enjoy your loved ones this holiday season.
Hi, this is Thaddaus Dawson. Welcome to Thaddaus Dawson Speaks, where we liberation through valuation, where soul meets soil. Today we are in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, with Pastor Nehemiah Smith Jr. That is Pastor Nehemiah Smith Jr. I'm so excited to be here in Rocky Mount, bringing our Outside the Barn series. I was here about a month or two ago and presenting, and I met Pastor Smith, and we got to talking, and I'm really excited to be here. And we will be doing Outside the Barn, talking about agriculture and appraising the two least diverse professions in the country. We'll also be talking about reconsideration of value, heirs property, careers in agriculture and farming, and we'll also be talking about policy with the big beautiful bill and some of its implications, as well as we'll be talking about urban farming and conservation practices and how to get a farm number. So without further ado, let me just jump in here and get to Pastor Nehemiah Smith. Thank you for having us, Pastor.
Yes, sir. Glad that you could come. Glad you could come and be a part.
I know when we were here before, we had some preliminary discussions about you and your education at Morehouse, and the question was, we are about the same complexion and about the same age. However, I applied to Morehouse and didn't get accepted. And I believe it was because of the paper bag rule that was implemented at the time.
No paper bag rule. No
come
paper
on
bag.
now, come on.
No paper bag rule. Can't be. Can't be.
It wasn't me. I mean, you know.
Right, we don't have a paper bag rule. There is no paper bag rule.
There is no more.
There is no paper bag rule, period, at Morehouse College. There is no paper bag.
There was never a paper bag rule.
No, sir. No, sir. I don't know where they got that from.
I beg to differ, but we gonna agree to disagree on that one.
We agree to disagree on that. But no, it was no paper bag rule.
So you went to Morehouse, and then you left Morehouse, and you went to
Grambling State University. Yes. And those were my two dream schools. Greatest experiences that I've ever had in my life. Some of the best years of my life, or were that once I I worked at Grambling State University also as well. I worked at Grambling State University as well, and so and I have lifelong friendships from both places. My college roommate, Dr. Jamal Harrison Bryant, who is a pastor there in Atlanta, where you are.
All right, he's the one causing all that trouble out there.
That's
out
right.
east. Okay.
Yeah, that's why got Target in an uproar.
Yeah, he was leading the boycott at Target. Okay.
That's right. He got Target CEO stepping down.
Okay.
Correct, because of slow sales. But you meet people, and these are people that you will be friends with for the rest of your life. They're more like family than they are friends. I mean, I tell people all the time that Jamal and I were friends for about 2 minutes, and then after that, we're brothers for life. That's the way it is.
Well, and that is part of the power of the HBCUs and the synergy. And I believe that still the numbers used to be that the HBCUs used to get less than 10% of all African American students, but then they graduate over 80%.
That's right.
And I believe it's because they care and you have a sense of family. Even if you just passing through, you still come back, you go to homecoming, you're part of the community. And
that's true. And we see now that this current class that was just admitted into HBCUs is very large. It's a very large class because, the PWIs.
They can't go nowhere else.
They can't go nowhere else now. So now you got to come.
Yeah, you have a very little choice on where you can go. And
That's
then,
right.
what do you think that's doing for the future of education, funding? We've always been building brick without straw, without the resources. Even in the 1890 land-grant colleges, they didn't get their fair distribution of the funding like the 1862 land-grant colleges.
Right. When you look at it, I think that I'm very encouraged by the numbers that you see. Like my niece couldn't even get housing because there was so many freshmen that were admitted, and so for me that's a positive thing. It's having the same effect that the Cosby Show had on Black America when A Different World came out, which was the spinoff.
So you think it's an unintended consequence of
yes,
this
it's an
administration?
unintended consequence. They didn't think. I guess they thought that we were just going to stop going to school. They're crazy. That's not going to happen because we have schools that I say HBCUs are really the only true universities in the United States.
Well, in North Carolina, you all probably have more HBCUs than anybody.
That's right.
What is it, 10, 12?
Well, we have Winston-Salem State. We have North Carolina A&T. We have Bennett College. We have Johnson C. Smith. We have Elizabeth City State. We have Fayetteville State University. We have Shaw. We have St. Augustine.
North Carolina Central.
And
Bluefield?
No, Bluefield is in West Virginia. And I think that's it.
No. Livingstone.
Livingstone, that's right. That's 10.
Okay.
That's 10.
Because I've been to just about all of them.
Yeah,
So
we got 10.
At some point.
We had more than that in North Carolina, yeah.
And the majority of those are CIAA schools, I believe.
No, they're CIAA and MEAC.
Okay, CIAA and MEAC.
CIAA and MEAC, yeah.
And is your church affiliated with any of those?
Well, here at Mount Zion, we have people that have attended just about every school that you name. Elizabeth City, North Carolina A&T, North Carolina Central. We have a large contingent of North Carolina Central here. We may have some Fayetteville State. I'm not sure. Yes, we do. We have Fayetteville State, Johnson C. Smith.
Okay.
We have St. Aug. We have Shaw.
Okay.
So it's here. HBCUs are here.
Yeah, and one of the things that I really liked and appreciated that you said is that when I was here before, you talked about everything that you need is in the church.
Everything.
Somebody in your congregation can do and serve anything. And I love the fact that you are community oriented, which is another unintended consequence. And I think that is something that in order for us to survive, we have to get back to communal living and communal development because people are really, really struggling. And one of the things I know, you have a pantry and a soup kitchen. Can you tell us how many people you fed? Okay, I want you to talk about how many people you fed all year, but then how many people you fed last summer when the kids were out of school. How many meals was that?
Okay, so when I started the soup kitchen came. It's kind of funny how that came about. So my mother had one of the largest soup kitchens in the city, and before she died, she said, "I need for you to keep the soup kitchen going." So the soup kitchen was at my home church, which is about 3 or 4 miles away from here, and I was trying to keep it up, like she said, but then I got this pastorship, so of course I had to be here, and I couldn't be here and there. So she said, keep it going. She didn't say where it had to be. She said, I need you to keep it going. So I said, all right. So what I did was I introduced it here, and it was over a 3-month period. So we started out with just 3 months, just to see how it was going to work. We started out serving 50 bags with soup a week. So you get soup, sandwich, water, dessert. That next year, that doubled. That next year, it went even more. So now we do about 150 to 175 bags a week that we take out. That not only can you come here and get food, but we take it to the community. We take it to our elderly, those people that can't get out, that type of thing.
And with eggs costing almost $1 a piece, food sovereignty and food security is really important. So
It is.
That's some of the things that we're going to be working with you on,
Right.
as far as farming and developing some of your land in order to produce food, and also looking at real estate development and highest and best use. So in our plan that I've been looking at, this faith-based intergenerational development, I'm so excited to be working with you on that and bringing awareness to your congregation about reconsideration of value, heirs property, development, intergenerational mixed-use development and cooperative development, bringing all the other churches in the community together, workforce development. So this is really going to be an opportunity to put together a footprint for the community. One of the things, can you speak a little bit? You told me an interesting story about a kid that kept coming to get food at the food pantry last year.
Well, it wasn't last year, but when I first got back to Rocky Mount, I didn't know what I was going to do. I got back, come to help take care of my dad, and a good friend, my brother's classmate, 2 of my brother's classmates, said that we would feed kids during the summer. So I said, okay, great, we'd do that. That summer, we served 7,000 meals between breakfast and lunch. We did 2. We served 7,000 meals in one summer.
Now, was this a luxury or was this a necessity?
This was a necessity. It had to happen, because if not, these children were not going to eat. Some of these children would have gone to bed hungry. Some of these children would have gotten up and not had a meal, and what I mean, a real meal. They would have gone to the store and got a bag of chips or some cheese puffs and maybe a huggy drink or something, but they wouldn't have had a real meal.
Why do you feel like it's the church's responsibility? Because a lot of times I see everybody thinks somebody else is taking care of it or somebody else's responsibility. And how do you approach it, and how do you get buy-in from your congregation and your board?
Because I don't argue with them. I give them the word. What does the word say? The word. So therefore, you don't argue with me. You're not arguing with me. I give you word. The word says, feed the hungry, clothe the naked, comfort those who are in distress. So I didn't say that. That's what God says that we are supposed to do. So feeding people is not an option. That's not an option. It is, we are compelled to do that. And so there's no argument. There's no argument with me. There's no argument with my congregation. My congregation gladly comes in and volunteers. They put in those volunteer hours to make sure that we fix a good meal for our soup kitchen. All of it's homemade. We don't do the canned stuff. We do homemade. We do fresh vegetables and stuff like that. Then we have on Wednesdays we have what we call Sweet Hour Prayer. During Sweet Hour Prayer, they come in and they fix a meal for those participants who are in Sweet Hour Prayer. That's done. We do that. We believe in feeding here. We believe in feeding people. So we have we feed during the summer. Then we have in the second weekend every December, we have what we call Feed the City. Feed the City came about during COVID. And I had a trustee of mine, Antonia Williams, came and said, Pastor, we need to feed people because I know people not getting a good meal or whatever. It was in Millicoat. So I said, well, what do you think? He said, well, look, let's fix about 300 meals and go from there. And we'll just pass them out. I said, well, why fix 300 when we can fix 5,000? He said, Pastor, you crazy. We can't fix no 5,000 meals, man. What are you talking about? I said, we're going to fix 5,000 meals. Get your people, some of your friends that like to grill. We're going to get the grillers out here. And we're going to get the chicken. And we're going to get the sides and all that stuff was donated. From the plates to the sides to the dessert, everything. We got that together. We put out a clarion call for volunteers. Volunteers came from everywhere. That first year, Feed the City, we fed 4,200 people.
That is amazing, and again, it's necessary. I like your enthusiasm, and I like your visionary approach. You have the oldest church here in Rocky Mount.
That's correct.
And how old is the church?
This year it'll be 158.
And so a lot of your members are like 100.
No, they ain't that old. They ain't that old. Well, a lot of them. I have people that grew up in this church. I have people that are older that grew up here. So this church was founded in 1867. Mm-hmm. It was founded by a band of believers that were renting, and yet there was one lady in the community who was considered a leader of the community because she owned her own house, and her name was Lou Haskins King. And so when they went and were asking, where can we have service? She said, well, you can have it at my house. So the first incarnation of this church was in her living room, was at her house.
Miss King she was a former slave.
She was a former slave who was going back to work for her slave master.
After emancipation.
After emancipation. She worked for him until he died, and when he died, he left her the house.
And so this is where the church, Mount First St. Zion.
No, Mount Zion First Baptist.
Mount Zion First Baptist was born.
It was born, yeah.
So with having an older congregation, I know change is really hard. Mm-hmm. And to be able to make the church relevant, and what did you do that was revolutionary, especially when numbers have really gone down since COVID, and churches and people have changed not only the way that they attend church, but also the way they give in church?
So my deacon, which you met, Deacon Belfield, he always says all the time, communication is key. All right. I communicate some things well, some things I don't communicate so well. But communication is key. That's what he says. You got to have good communication and get that out. So during COVID, a lot of churches went under. And they went under because they were unwilling to change. They were unwilling to go with what needed to be done during that time to get out the message. With an iPhone, a praise team, a deacon, a musician, and myself, we and Facebook Live, we kept this church going.
So you did a production.
I did a production, baby.
Now, do you do the TikTok, Instagram?
Haven't done TikTok yet. Haven't done Instagram yet. But I got some younger people in now and some students that are coming in, and they get ready to take all of that over. They get ready to take over the Instagram. They get ready to take over the TikTok. They're going to do all of that because I know, look, I'm 55. I'm young. I ain't old. But I'm getting a little long in the tooth for some of that.
But it's imperative that we communicate with the next generation.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have the technology, but we and some of the members of your church have the wisdom.
Right. And
in order for us to survive, we really need to bring all of that together.
Yeah, there has to be a meshing of those things. With the young people that I have coming now and that are participating. One of the young ladies, I met her, at one time she was our youngest member at 19. She was 19, she was our youngest member. I met her doing Feed the City. I saw her come out, I said, what's your name? She told me what her name was. I said, okay. I said, well, look, what are you here? She said, I'm here to get me and my grandmama a plate. I said, okay. I said, well, go ahead and get you a plate. I said, I always say, I want to see you in church on Sunday. She's like, okay. She was just so happy and bubbly. But I'm thinking she's just talking. She cap. She capping. This ain't real. So that Sunday, sure enough, she popped in. She came in. She came back the next Sunday. Eventually, she joined. after that, she brought her grandmama.
But I think they will come if you have something to say.
Oh, yeah.
And
You got
you have
something to
to
say.
have a message. And I find that the young folks like transparency and accountability.
Yes, sir.
And it's not a top down because I said so.
Nah.
They have a totally different mentality. I know some of my students keep me engaged, and where I'm get off the grass, old man, it's really helped me to be able to listen. And it always gets back to my grandmother telling me, boy, you ever thought about why God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth?
And 1 mouth.
Sometimes you just need to listen.
You're right. And so what? And then I thank God for my niece and my nephew, and my son, but especially my niece, because my niece will send me the latest music. She say, "You got to put this on your playlist."
Do you understand what they're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And so, because first of all, I got a translator first.
Okay.
My niece, she said, "Okay, this is what they talking about." I said, "Okay." So now that once I was able to translate, now I don't need to translate it anymore. I get it.
Okay, you can get it.
I get it now.
Well, I might
So
need to call you because
you
I
not
don't
need to
understand.
So you got No Cap. You got which is one of my favorites. No Cap is a favorite of mine. Rilo Rodriguez is a favorite of mine. Big X the Plug is a favorite of mine. And some others that I listen to. But my niece keeps me on top of it. She gonna send me something
I
every
ain't
month.
never heard of them cats you talking
Oh
about.
yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir. And so I'm a 80s guy. I'm a guy that, Big Daddy Kane and them kind of cats.
Yeah,
But
okay.
it has progressed. It has changed. Hip hop has changed. And yet the message is still going out, but according to the vernacular and the slang of the day.
And so we've always leaned on music, and I think every generation has this sort of freedom or theme song or anthem. When I was presenting last week, I talked about one song, one title that had multiple generations and different artists. So if you're talking to my dad and you're talking about Fight the Power, he gonna want to hear the Isley Brothers.
The Isley Brothers, yeah.
Me and you, we gonna want to hear Flav and Chuck.
Flav and Chuck,
Power.
yeah,
And
Fight the Power.
some of the young folks, they want to hear the newer version with Nas, and some of the other folks. And
Yeah,
Black
but it's still
Star.
there.
But
It's woven.
and it's really relevant. And I think today, more than ever, we just have a sense of community that's necessary, but also in my space, in the real estate and the valuation, I don't think we pay enough attention to the impact of real estate. One of the things that we're about to experience is the largest transformation in wealth in history, $100 trillion. Only $3 trillion of that will be attributable to black people. That number should be closer to 7 to 10 trillion, if not for redlining and other institutional methodology that was disparaging to the black community. I did a practice last week where I had everybody raise their hand and tell what highway came through their community and divided the black community. And folks from all across the country got up and told and had a story. So undervaluation was systemic and intentional. Today we have a tool that can combat that, and that's part of what we want to be able to do. Is we're not going to be able to go back and get all that's been lost, but we can arrest further erosion of wealth. And now wealth it's just fleeting. We produce a lot of revenue, we spend a lot of money, but we're not really producing wealth or doing wealth generation.
Well, I think that your part speaks to an even broader issue, and that issue is knowing who we are and our history. You know history. You know our history. I know our history. But this generation that's coming after us, they don't know the history, and that's because we haven't done a good job at teaching the history. And in knowing the history, that your reconsideration of value piece becomes easier for you to get across once people know what the history is.
You have a good point there, but then our history is being erased before our eyes.
Well, it is that.
So is it the church's responsibility? Is it the community's responsibility? Whose responsibility is it to make sure that that history is being taught and not erased?
It's always been a responsibility of the church, of the black church. All right. When you go back and you look at HBCUs, their founding, when you look at a lot of the organizations and a lot of and when you look at where these leaders came out of, Frederick Douglass was an AMEZ preacher, ordained. You have Harriet Tubman, who was AME. You have Richard Allen, who was AME. You have people in the black community that came out of the church. The movement in the black community came out of the church. The church was the central area from which all things blossomed. People came to the church to find out what are we supposed to be doing politically? What are we supposed to be doing socially? It came out of the church.
So is it time to go back to the church?
It's been past time for us to go back to the church.
Because we just were at the 66th anniversary of the SCLC, and one of the things that I talked about is that the SCLC is just needed just as much today as when it was created 66 years ago.
More so.
But we kind of got lost. But I think in this iteration, I believe we're going through new reconstruction. So I think it's going to be imperative to the legacy organizations to be able to work together, but also be relevant to communicate to the young folks not only how to survive, but how to thrive, and what did we do wrong. I feel like we dropped the ball. We shouldn't still have to be doing this. And right now, our rights are being eviscerated right in front of us.
Our rights are being eviscerated. There's a move to eviscerate our history. There's a move to eviscerate us. And if slavery couldn't kill us, if Jim Crow couldn't kill us, then surely we can't allow this foolishness that's going on now to destroy us. We won't allow it to happen because there are enough of us. As Du Bois said, I'm a Du Boisian, so I'm a follower of Du Bois. Du Bois had his issues, but then for the most part, he was right when he talked about a talented 10. There are 10% of us that have to look out for the other 90%. All right, and they're not going to always understand it, but it has to be done.
So do you think that's a responsibility of the talented 10?
Yes, sir. That's our responsibility. That's what he was telling us. It's your responsibility. It's my responsibility. We have the knowledge. Therefore, we have to use that knowledge in order to make sure that the 90% that don't have that knowledge, who might not even have a desire to know that, are taken care of. It is our. The burden is ours.
Does that get to be rather challenging? Because, in my opinion, I've seen a lot of those talented 10th become very self-serving and very capitalistic.
That's not the talented 10. They're not talented 10.
So what?
They're part of the 90%.
That's the 90%.
That's 90%.
Okay.
I don't care. You can be educated and be a part of the 90%. You can have a college degree and be a part of the 90%. Being a part of that 10% means that we will do what it takes in order to make sure that the people survive. We will deny self in order to strive for the survival of the whole. We understand that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one or the few.
Are you sure that 10%, that number really is looking like 1 to 2%?
It's 10% of us. There are 10% out there. It's being replenished every day.
How do we connect in order to make that reality? Because you have so few doing for so many, and with limited resources.
How do we connect?
I came down here for a conference, and I spoke at your conference, and you said you wanted us back, so we here.
We're here.
And so
what differences have we had?
Nothing. We connected on a lot. So
we connected on different levels. We connected on different levels. So it's almost as if though I've known you all my life. You even though we just met. We have similar goals.
Oh, absolutely.
We as a matter of fact, I would go and say we have the same goal. We're just in different we're in different positions. Same goal, different positions.
And I think I like that because there's room for everybody.
There's room for everybody.
And everybody just has to play their position. And we can all get.
I ain't trying to tell nobody about reconsideration of value. That's not my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But I know somebody that can. So hey, brother, I need you to come and tell it. I use the influence that I have over the people that I can influence and say, you need to come and hear this. All right. Then once you come in, you tell the people what they need to know, and then let them make those type of relationships with you outside of me. Because my whole goal was to bring you the information. I brought you the information with someone who could bring the information. I'm not here to steal your shine. As a matter of fact, I want you to shine. I want you to shine. I'm not jealous of what you know. Look, man, I'm glad you know it. You know, I'm glad that you're willing to come and teach the people what they need to know. You understand? So that's the 10th. The 10th is the 10th isn't jealous of each other. The 10th isn't trying to outshine one another. So what we consider, or what many thought was the 10th, was really the 90. They weren't the 10th. Huh? The 10th, I don't care if anybody ever says, great job. Did you get the information? I don't care if somebody goes out here and does exactly what I've been talking about for the last 15, 20 years. Did it get done? Yes, it got done. Huh? I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about any accolade that somebody could give me, because I know that type of accolade is fleeting.
Where did you get that level of commitment and responsibility? I know you said your mother said you had to go on with the food bank. Was that something that your family instilled in you, or something
My mom
you
and
learned
dad.
at Morehouse when they was making y'all take important one-on-one?
My mom and dad were those kind of people. When my mom and dad got married, there was a young man who came by. They lived in an apartment, and there was a young man came by and said, "Is there anything that I can do?" And Mama said, "I don't got nothing for this boy to do." Dad said, "Just give him a broom and let him sweep outside the door." He would come back every week. My mom and dad moved into the house. They stayed in that apartment for 18 months because my dad said, "We ain't used to renting from nobody. I don't come from a family that rents. You don't come from a family that rents. We own." So they went and they bought a house. They built the first house in our neighborhood. The house that I live in today is the house that my mom and dad built in
What year was it?
1965.
Okay.
Okay? So we coming up on, it's 60 years old this year. Okay? They built the first house there. Young. When they moved to the house, the boy went to the apartment. Where they at? They moved. Where? Oh, they moved on Virginia Street. Mr. Smith, anything I can do? Hey, yeah, man, cut the grass. So, you know, they believe in investing in the community. My mother and father were trendsetters. People living in apartments that had been there for years, that were professional people, that were teachers. My mom and dad stayed there for 18 months. My father told my mother, we're going to be here for 18 months, and then we are leaving here to build our own house. Okay, they built the first house in my neighborhood. The very
That
first
was
house.
really unique in 1965.
In 1965.
So you all have probably one of the oldest black banks in the country with mechanics and farmers.
Mechanics and farmers, yeah.
A lot of rich history and culture here in North Carolina. Y'all been doing stuff for quite some time.
So it was instilled in us. My father, my dad, and my mother told us that we have a responsibility to help other people. That's our responsibility. As human beings, our responsibility is to help others. All right, so I grew up with that. I didn't just pick that up when I went to Morehouse. I knew that from the door. When I left home, I knew. I used to feed people when I was in college. When Hurricane Katrina came and I was in Grambling, Louisiana, I had 7 people living in my apartment at one time that I didn't know. Because the population of North Louisiana quadrupled in less than 24 hours. People were looking for somewhere to say, "Come on, man, come on. I got food in here. Come on, stay. There's a place you can sleep here." People were amazed, like, wait, I got other people to do that.
I think that, again, back to that community and that source, but do you find it challenging? You said you got other people to do it. Do you find people need to be prodded, or people are willing, they just don't know? Because now we have more media access and devices than ever. we have access, but I don't really feel we have true connectivity. It's really superficial. And if you see somebody online, they like, you a pastor, so you probably get the stories that folks is online showing you all the good stuff. You get to hear the bad stuff.
This is what I know to be true for my own life. Iron sharpens iron, okay? When I went to Morehouse, when I went to Grambling, I gravitated to people, and people gravitated to me that grew up the same way I grew up. I gravitated to those people, okay? I got friends right now that their mothers are just like my mama, huh? When their mama died, I cried just like it was my own mama, huh? When I went to visit them, I remember my good friend in New Jersey. I go for the summer. My first time, just going, I was at Grambling State University. I'm going for the summer. I'm going to hear my man Mike Newell. I go up there. I meet his mom, Miss Dorothy Newell. And I go in the house. She said, "Oh, nice to meet you." I said, "Oh, this is a nice lady." I, went to sleep that night at the house. I woke up. She woke me up the next morning and said, "Get up. It's time to get up. Sweep the floor. I need you to go in here and wash these dishes." I didn't be like, wait a minute, lady. You know what I said? "Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am." I got in there and I got busy. But it was like I was at home. Any of my friends, when I go there, whether it be Indianapolis, Indiana, whether they go to New York, whether I go to Florida, whether I go to Louisiana, I don't care where it is. If I got a friend and that's my friend there, when I go there, it's just like I'm at home. So you gravitate to people that are like you. The reason why we have a connection is because we're alike.
And to your point, when I'm traveling, they're like, "Well, how do you get?" I'm going to places where folks invite me. I'm not wasting my energy and effort at trying to get a seat at the table. I'm trying to make a table of inclusion that everybody is welcome to, but I'm trying to do it with some intentionality and bringing some awareness, because a lot of the stuff that we talk about, people just don't know about. Even when I was here the last time, it was just refreshing, the level of pastors that you had and the level of commitment of the community. So I'm so looking forward to working with you all. There's such an opportunity here in North Carolina to have a really strong impact, and you got to stand at the Sojourn Bed and Breakfast, which is a good friend of mine, a lifelong friend of mine, Chris Kitchen, and she has a place here. So
That's right.
I'm excited about the community that you all have and the level of support and the ability to be able to have an impact here.
It is. I live by. We have these general things that we live by, but I live by very simple principles. I talked about it yesterday in Bible study. First of all, acknowledge there's one and only true God. To love God and to love others as I love myself. In other words, my love is vertical and then horizontal. Okay? But also, if I believe that everyone, no matter who you are, should know your history, your personal history, your family history, as well as the history of your people. Okay? And the one person, there are two people that have had a major impact on me, their readings, well, more than that, but these two people. And that is Harold Cruz, who wrote The Crisis of the Negro Intellectual, and Claude McKay. Claude McKay, who is considered to be the first intellectual of the Harlem Renaissance. In 1917, which was the year that more blacks were hung in the United States than any other time in history.
1917?
1917. It's called the Red Summer, that summer. He was a Pullman porter. And he penned a poem entitled "If We Must Die." That poem, when the Attica riots, people had pinned it on toilet You hear Winston Churchill use it.
What was the name of it?
If We Must Die.
And who was the author?
Claude McKay. He was from Sunnyvale, Jamaica. He was Jamaican born. Claude McKay says, if we must die, let it not be like hogs, hunted and penned in an inglorious spot, while round us bark the mad and hungry dogs, making their mock at our accursed lot. If we must die, oh, let us nobly die, so that our precious blood may not be shed in vain. Then even the monsters we defy shall be constrained to honor us, though dead. O kinsmen, we must meet the common foe. Though far outnumbered, let us show us brave, and for their 1,000 blows deal one death blow. What though before us lies the open grave? Like men, we'll face the murderous, cowardly pack, pressed to the wall, dying, but fighting back. I believe that. I'm dying every day.
I believe we're all getting close to it, but to have that level of spirit and commitment, especially in this environment where it's so hostile and aggressive.
This ain't hostile.
It's not hostile?
This ain't hostile. I've seen hostile. This ain't hostile. This ain't hostile. When you get dogs sicked on you, you've seen the videos. Dogs sicked on your water hoses. That's hostile. Then what we going through now? This ain't nothing.
So,
these people could do this with those people could do that with their eyes closed. This what we doing dealing with these jokers. What we haven't done is we haven't taken up the mantle. We haven't looked at the history and said, what would they do? Because we don't need a new blueprint. The blueprint's already there. What to do?
we asked that question at the SCLC in one of the sessions, and I had made the point last week that I didn't believe that redlining was dead. It's just been digitized. And Jim Crow is alive and well. He's just going by James Jr. now. He got a little bit more sophisticated. So to your point, we're not being bitten by dogs and squared by water hose, but some of the same plays are systemically to keep us in place or to roll back opportunities. So
whenever we employ what they had already done, we win. Why do you think Target's CEO is having to resign? Because my good friend, the Reverend Dr. Jamal Harrison Bryant, said we're going to hold on to this money. We're not going to go to Target.
So we do have an opportunity to be able to control where we spend because we spend so much. And I would like to see us have some alignment with we spend and unity amongst and leverage the power that we have as a community historically, preservatively, and it just needs to be a little bit more aligned. So the boycott was very effective, but we need to be able to get some things and do business with those who want to do business with us because we represent profitability, and that's about knowing our value and our capacity.
Right. Here's a novel idea. Okay. This is the first time I've had an opportunity to put it out there, really put it out there. I'm putting it out on your podcast.
Okay, we're going to put this out on the podcast.
Idea.
Okay,
novel
all right.
Idea. All right. We know that a dollar should rotate 13 times within your community before it leaves.
But it only rotates 2 times in our community. 0
times.
Okay.
We get it and it's gone. Okay? Yet we can demonstratively sit down and write a list of the top 100 companies where we spend most of our money.
When you say we, who is we?
Black folk.
Okay.
Let's get it real. Let's keep it 100.
Are you
black
talking
folk.
about indigenous?
I'm talking about black folk. I'm talking about African American people.
Okay.
That part of the diaspora that is in America. Okay. That Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, we spend all these.
Foundational
Walmart.
black folks.
Yeah, foundational black. Walmart, all of these places. Make a list of 100 of those 100 companies. And then when you have something like Philando Castile, when you have something like Mike Brown, when you have something like George Floyd, then what you do is you get somebody like Steve Harvey, you really want to do something? You call out, okay, you hit this man this many times, and you held him down for this many minutes, so we're going number 1, number 7, and number 36. For 18 months, no money. None. You get nothing from us. For 18 months. We got you for 18, and we ain't gonna break that 18. We're going to give you the 18 months because if you look at the Montgomery bus boycott, it went under in less than a year because we held on to nickels and dimes. So just think if you hold on to the dollars the same way and Target, well, we didn't have nothing to do with it. That's fine. But guess what you'll do for us? You'll advocate to the powers that be and say, wait a minute. You messing with those people? Those people are my customers. You messing with my money? If you want me to continue to get money from the lobbyists and all this kind of stuff, you better do what these people want you to do.
But everybody's so moving in fear in the government.
You don't have to move in fear. Because the one thing that I can't make you do, I can't tell you where you better spend your money. I can't do that. Because when Target, go ahead and do what you're going to do, Target. We got something for you. And now their CEO, because of slumping sales, is saying, I'm out of here.
Well, I was glad we wasn't
go.
boycotting Costco because Costco is my store of choice.
But that's just it. Just think of the people, because Montgomery wasn't the first bus boycott.
No.
Baton Rouge. All right. What they did in Baton Rouge, all you gotta do is look at that stuff. They were buying gas from black gas stations. There were only about 2. They got so bad until the gas companies wouldn't sell gas to the 2 black gas stations. They had to go out of state in order to get the gas.
Well, that's usually a playbook as well when we do start to get together. Even when you talked about Bloody Summer, what was that about? Because in part of my readings and study, most of the time there was a massacre, there was a theft of property and land that went along with it.
It was hot, and they wanted to kill some niggas. That's what it was. I mean,
There was no theft of
you gonna
property.
find out that I don't bite my tongue about it. I understand exactly what it was.
There was no theft of property that
No, I
followed.
don't want no theft of property.
And that was just here in North Carolina?
No, that was all over the country. That was over the entire country. More blacks were killed in 1871. More blacks were killed in North Carolina than any other time in the state of North Carolina.
Was any of that related to
Wilmington riots? All of that.
Now that Wilmington riots was related to land loss and land.
It was related to
theft.
land loss. It was related to the fact that black people were doing well.
Yeah, they had
And
their own
They had their own
municipalities.
little
And was,
municipalities. I get to this thing. People talk about, and I hear this stuff, Black Wall Street. I don't call nothing no Black Wall Street. Why would I do that? Obviously, people don't know what Wall Street was. Wall Street was a slave market. There was a wall that went all the way down the middle of the street. That's why they called it Wall Street. And they traded slaves on Wall Street. Just say that this was a mecca for black business, but don't call it Black Wall Street. Don't do that. Don't call it a Black Holocaust. Don't call it what it was, the Ma'afa, the time of great suffering. Use your terminology to define who you are. Don't allow somebody else, even in your terminology, to determine who you are.
well, words have power. And
Words
the
have
power's
power.
in the word. So that is.
And so when I look at it, there's a lot of things I guess people look at me and say, "Oh, you crazy?" No, I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy at all. I understand what is being done. You will erase a people's whole sense of dignity, their whole sense of being. We cannot allow that to happen. As black men, we cannot allow that to happen. Du Bois said, a people are known by its extraordinary men. Now, was Du Bois a sexist? Of course he was. You see that. But he was right about that. He was right about a people are known by its extraordinary men. Du Bois is more relevant today than he was when he was living. James Baldwin is more relevant today than he was when he was living. Frederick Douglass was more relevant today than he was when he was living.
How do we get back and recapture that spirit? Like I was here the last time, and I was standing in the pulpit behind the lectern where Dr. Martin Luther King first gave his "I Had a Dream" speech. And I really felt, as I've been moving around, that I've been tapping into my genetic memory. And somebody was asking me, why do I feel like it's my responsibility? Because I don't see anybody else doing the work that I'm doing, and that's what I've been blessed to be able to do. And so I feel like that's my calling. And so when I connected with you and I hear the purpose, and we talk about wealth building, food sovereignty, trying to improve the community, also doing workforce development and job creation. I believe there are a lot of folks like us, but we haven't connected because we have been so divided. And part of what happened the last time is we didn't connect. You went through all those organizations, SCLC, SNCC, CORE, NAACP, Nation of Islam.
You can leave the NAACP out of it, but go ahead.
Okay, well,
You can leave them out.
Okay.
That's another.
okay, well, I was just saying all of
for
the
another podcast.
Oh,
but
yeah,
anyway.
all of the organizations were supposedly fighting, but not really working together with an agenda. And is there any way? And we're not a monolithic people.
We're not.
So we come in all shapes, sizes, and colors, and different viewpoints. But when it comes to discriminatory practices, there seems to be a monolithic impact at all levels, and it doesn't matter what your socioeconomic status is. It gets back down to color, and it gets to be exhausting. What do you see as
What
the
did Sammy
blueprint?
Davis Jr. say? Sammy Davis Jr. said, somebody came to him and said, "Man, you rich." He said, "Yeah, but I'm a rich nigga." Huh? Yeah, I might have the money, but in the eyes of the society, I'm still no more than a nigga. I'm just a nigga with money. Huh? What we have to understand is, yes, we are not monolithic, but there is a monolithic impact. James Blake, the tennis player, found that out the hard way. Huh? Police threw him to the ground. He all on TV playing tennis.
Oh, that was the boy at the New York
Yeah.
U.S. Open.
The U.S. Open, they threw him on the ground. Huh? Oprah Winfrey goes in a place, they won't serve her. Huh? So what's the tie that binds? The tie that binds is this here.
But why y'all always trying to play the race card?
What do you mean a race card? There ain't no card. I'm playing the cards that were given. I'm playing the cards that were given. And now that I want to play the cards that are given, then you want to change the game in the middle of the game.
The game is always changing. The game is
Come on,
definitely
man.
always changing.
Huh.
But one of the things I like about Rocky Mount is that I love the quality of life here, and I think that we're not going to really close the wealth gap. It would take 500 years, but it only take $200 billion to close the poverty gap. I believe we have an opportunity to do something with the wealth gap, but definitely opportunity to close the poverty gap, and definitely an opportunity to increase food sovereignty and improve the quality of our life.
And it's going to be more important now than ever. That piece you just talked about is going to be more important now than ever, because the law has changed, the policies have changed. Oh, you got to work. Not that you didn't have to work before, but you were supposed to work before. But now you better, or you won't
you're
eat.
talking about the big beautiful
The
bill.
big beautiful bill.
But there's another opportunity, because in order to continue on with your SNAP benefits, you have to have so many voluntary hours.
That's right.
And I believe some of those hours you can now get from the church. But
That's
also the church with this farming and
That's
feeding the
right.
community, it all sort of plays together.
All plays together, baby.
I think it's just a matter of, like you said, the game is always changing. We have to advocate and educate on how to play.
And we have to realize that no matter how the game has changed, we've always been able to adapt. This ain't the first time the game changed. The game has changed on us 1,000 times, but every time it changed,
Yeah, every 5 years or so.
5 years, you don't have to wait that long, but every time it changed, we were good. We got it. Somebody out there was looking, somebody in the 10% was looking, okay, look, you the 10% because you say, hey, look, man,
But we
this reconsideration of
always
value-
playing defense. And they're always playing offense and always so much further ahead. We don't want to contribute resources. And again, the resources are limited, but in pooling and doing those things cooperatively, I really believe we have the opportunity to make an impact. And I'm really excited to be here in Rocky Mount working with you all here in North Carolina. And I hope that we can be the blueprint for the country in order to do this cooperative.
I know that we
development.
can. I know that we can. When I talked to you from the beginning, we hit it off just like that. We hit it off, and we hit it off because, like I said, I recognize who you were. I recognize who you are. I recognize. Oh, he one of them.
And you even prayed for me and lifted me up and covered me, and I'm. You don't know, your words were very encouraging because I fight, but I get tired sometimes.
We all get tired, man. I've been fighting a long time. When I was in college, I fought against my own folk, fought against, the Klan coming and marching in Atlanta. I was in that, had us out in the middle of the street. We fighting against the Klan. They marching. They tear gassed our campus. They tear gassed Morehouse's campus, telling us that we don't need to come out off of campus. Then to go to Grambling State University, fighting against your own people, fighting for better conditions.
How is that fight right there? That one right there. That's the one that always is more toxic and just more hurtful.
Yeah, like the kids at Howard right now. They suspended the young lady because she did a social media campaign. She ain't protesting nothing out in public. She did social media. They suspended. They expelled her from school at Howard. Howard ought to be ashamed of herself. Anyway, when you are, like you said, there are some people, even in our community, who once they get an education, once they get a position, they believe that they have arrived.
No, you haven't, because you stand on so many folks' shoulders, so many folks that came before you that you have never heard of. And we have so many community heroes, and that is the biggest thing I love about this work. When I come to communities like Rocky Mount, when I go to Halifax County, the education, the number of folks that have done things that we don't even know about. These are stories that we need to share, that people need to know. And we have so many hidden figures, so many contributions, the 6888. We have done so many things since the beginning of time to contribute to this history.
So because Black history is American history.
Oh, without a doubt.
So why would we allow that part of American history to be erased? Why would we not honor those, like you said, unsung heroes? This year will be our inaugural 1867 awards. All right? And we're honoring people in this community in 7 different categories. And in those 7 different categories, we're talking about people who have done things that you may never know, like the people who desegregated belt Tylers. Those kind of people that belts here in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. All kinds of people who have done things that will never get any recognition but need to have that recognition. And our young people need to know what these people have done, need to understand that you are not standing on your own.
No, somebody came before you.
Somebody came before you.
Somebody sacrificed and somebody stood up. And the only way we're going to make it is we have to stand up. And we have to educate, and we have to look beyond ourselves. So what you're doing is really encouraging, it's inspiring, and I know the community is really benefiting from it.
Even, like I said, even if they never say, Pastor Smith or Nehemiah, you did a great job, we glad, I ain't worried about that. I ain't ever worried about that. My good friend from Indiana, Chrisman Harding, told me, he said, we used to sit and talk. That's my guy. And he said, you are destined to do something great. I don't know what it is, but you're destined to do something great. He said, you have more potential than I've ever seen it. Any one person. He said, I just believe that you can do it. You can get it done. Hey, that was flattering. Okay, thanks. But when I really sat down and thought about it, I said, you know what? If that's the case, then I got to get at it. I can't waste any more time because time is not promised.
No, time is definitely not promised, and I think
ain't promised.
I think what you're doing and being able to connect with your congregation who is older, to do things like to get them online and start receiving donations. I know that's increased your revenue, your giving, or people's ability
Yeah.
to give. And I know there was some resistance until
Yeah.
they started seeing the results.
But that's how it is. Sometimes people ain't gonna see it until they see it. You know what I'm saying? Until something has to really jump off, and then they look at it and say, "Oh yeah, look what we doing." That's fine. It's fine if you want to take credit for it now. I ain't mad. But is it happening? Yes, it's happening, and that's what we have to do. And I know that's who you are as a person. You don't care. Hey, look, I'm Thaddaus. This is what I do, reconsideration of value. I ain't heard you say nothing else. I got some other people I connect you to do other things. But as for me, my wheelhouse is reconsideration of value. And I want to get that message out to these people. I got to get it out. Pastor Smith, I need you to put me in front of some people. Okay, bam. That's what we're doing. We're doing it here with this podcast. We're putting some things out there that perhaps hadn't been put out there before. That people perhaps has whispered, but have never really, vocalized. All right. So the way I see you, you are one of the talented 10, because you're not looking for the accolade. You're not looking for the praise. You're not looking for any of that. You're saying, and in the process, even though this may sound crazy, you're willing to go broke to help your people. You don't want to go broke.
No, I don't.
But you don't want to go broke. But you're willing to lay it all on the line for your people to make sure that they're good. Because guess what? You understand that is more reward than any money somebody could give you.
It is, and when I go and I speak and I see some results, I just had some kids last week that was really interesting in my entrepreneurial class at Best Academy. I've been doing that about 15 years. And so I had some kids that graduated, not kids, young men. They graduated in 2018, and I saw them a couple of weeks ago, and I got emotional because they were there for the first day of school, and one is now a detective and one is an analyst with Deloitte. And I just asked, like, y'all missing work for this? And their response was, you used to miss work for us. We ain't doing no more than what you did. We have a responsibility to do that. And so,
man, who you telling now? That was 2010 when we were feeding those kids. 2010, 2011.
mm-hmm.
I go to Walmart. I'm coming out of Walmart. Mrs. Smith. Hey man, what's going on? I might not remember, but then hey Mrs. Smith, what's going on? Man, it's so and so from the feeding program. Grown man now. I'm like, what? So I'm like, hey man, what's going on? Mr. Smith, hey man, I just want to let you know, man, I appreciate everything you did. Right now I'm getting ready. I got a job down in Florida. I'm gonna be working down there with my uncle. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got no kids. I ain't doing nothing wrong, Mr. Smith. I'm keep on you. I remember what you told me. What to do? You and Miss Z and Mr. Sam Rock. I remember y'all, man. Y'all were good, man. Y'all still doing the program? That kind of thing. That's what's rewarded to me.
Yeah.
It's better than anything that somebody can say, here's a check. Not that I won't take the check.
Oh yeah, because there is no mission without no money.
There ain't no mission without the money.
Yeah, we
I ain't no fool now. But at the same time, that means more, because now I got somebody out there who is being a productive citizen, who is being responsible. That's what it's all about. They're responsible. You're responsible to yourself, and you're responsible to your community.
Okay. So one last thing, what would you want to wrap up with? What's the message that you want folks to take away from this podcast and this?
That we are a people, as black people. We are a people of African descent, who have always believed that I am because God is, therefore we are. The Europeans, when they snatched that idiom, they misinterpreted it, transcribed it wrong. They transcribed it as cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. The saying was, I am because God is, therefore we are. That the I cannot exist without God or we. At the very center of who we are as a people is God. Is God. Nobody brought us God. We already had him. Nobody civilized us. We were already civilized. And that you cannot be an island unto yourself. You have to be a part of the we.
I think that's really important, and that's what I'll end on.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for having us here in Rocky Mount. I'd like to thank our producer, Rick Clear. We was on the train for 13 hours coming down here on the suggestion of Pastor Smith. It was very, very entertaining. And rethinking that or reconsideration of value, I don't think I'll be doing that again. But we're here and we're thankful and grateful. And thank you for this episode. And thank you, Rocky Mount. And thank you, Mount St. Zion.
Mount Zion.
Mount Zion
First
First Baptist Church. I'm going to get that right here in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. So, again, thank you for listening to our podcast, and good night.